All
Oh,
right, we're live.
oh,
Is Danielle back? No? All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We are continuing our series called The Tech Life Getting Hired. And this episode focuses in on the interns in Silicon Valley. Tonight, we are joined by two young women who are interning at two of the largest tech companies in Silicon Valley area, and they're going to share their intern experiences with our audience. Blacks in Technology will proudly present a new edition of the Tech Life Interning in Silicon Valley, a Google Hangout web series event where we answer questions about one stop on the road to tech employment internships. I'm your host, Greg Greenlee, along with my bid advisor, member, and co-host, Dr. Danielle Smith, although I think she's still having some internet difficulties right now. So I'll continue on. So during this web series event, we're going to sit down with people from all aspects of the technology industry, from engineers to HR, business analysts to hiring managers, and now interns from some of the top tech companies in the world for a practical discussion on getting hired. So just in case you haven't read our blog and you may be wondering, why do a series called Getting Hired? Isn't this all about entrepreneurship? Yes and no, because everybody's not going to be an entrepreneur. We definitely pushed that. We've definitely had a lot of entrepreneurs on our show, on the Big Tech Talk podcast. We've had them on our Startup of the Week. But this one is about, we want to change the conversation, not change it, but add another perspective in the conversation about tech and people of color in tech. So we want to talk to people about, getting hired, what it takes to get hired at some of these top tech companies, and have some practical and applicable advice on getting hired in this tech industry. So since starting the BIT organization, I've had the opportunity to talk to hundreds, if not thousands, of our members, and I've listened to their stories about what it's like living in tech, from starting companies to going on interviews to working in different environments. So the Tech Life is our effort to showcase those stories in a more cohesive way. Danielle, you there yet? Danielle, her internet is not interneting. Get your internets fixed. All right, so the video installment of the Tech Life series will be Getting Hired, and we'll feature people of color in tech that are working for larger, high-profile tech companies such as Google, Apple, Salesforce, tonight HP, and Intel, versus some of the smaller, more entrepreneurial startup tech companies. We did this intentionally to provide some attention to that side of tech. That while popular is often overlooked in a lot of the conversations. So our goal is to have a candid discussion with our participants and have them provide our community with practical and actionable advice that will aid our members in becoming world-class tech professionals. So this video series will serve as a valuable and informational resource for members in our community. So listen close, take notes, ask some questions. We're going to have questions coming in from our Slack channel. Hopefully we'll have some on Twitter as well. So we're going to cover a variety of topics during this series that will assist our community with career planning and progression. Those topics will include personal advice, skill development, resume tips, interview strategies, and touch on what to expect once you start and move up the ladder. The point of this portion of the Tech Life series as a whole is to raise the profile of people of color outside of the startup community. So Getting Hired will highlight career options in traditional corporations, hopefully serving as a career development resource for those in the BIT community that are curious about this route. So tonight, this evening, we're talking to two interns, Kimberly Hill and Camille Eddy. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Glad to have you here tonight. And Danielle's still not on. So we are going to continue without her. Hopefully she'll get our internet fixed and she'll be able to chime in. But before we get started, well, we are started. So I want you to introduce yourself, starting with Kimberly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kimberly Hill. I am a rising junior computer science major at Howard University. Shout out to the HBCUs. You already know. But yes, I am a games engineer intern at Intel as well as a Code 2040 fellow. So I guess, yeah, we could talk a little bit more about what I do later on. But
okay, big up to Code 2040.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Camille?
I'm Camille, and I am a rising senior at Boise State University in Boise, Idaho, and my major is mechanical engineering. And so I'm out here at HP as a machine learning intern.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so you you already told us a little bit, but let's go back through some of that again. Tell us what school you attend, your major, the company you're interning with, and your role at the company. We kind of already went through that. So let's before we get into the internships, tell us how you became interested in tech. We'll start with Camille.
Oh, sure. So I was 12 and I saw a couple of documentaries about Mae Jemison and Sally Ride, who were the first African and then the first woman astronauts. And so through that, I was really interested in becoming an astronaut, and I chose to go into engineering. After that, in my first high school year, I met Barbara Morgan, who was the first teacher in space. So a lot of women who did a lot of firsts. And I participated in a lot of STEM camps throughout high school. So that really got me confident about doing an engineering degree. And so that's what I went for and did.
Excellent, excellent. What about you, Kimberly?
I wanted to be just like my dad. My dad is in the tech scene. He is a graphic web designer, as well as my cousin, who is also she has a PhD in computer science. And I kind of watched them growing up, and I just wanted to be just like both of them, I guess you could say. So I'm all about art and like trying to impact the community, and I realized in my junior year when I took AP Computer Science that you can do so much. Like my first interaction with technology was with computer science, and I think the reason why I started to do it was because I could use art in a way to tell a story, and that was through like user interface, experience like UX, UI. And that's how that was like my first interaction with it, and I think that's why I kept it, because I feel like I could actually make an impact within my community as well as be creative and be expressive. So.
Excellent, excellent. And I like that that point that you made about being creative. A lot of people, when they get into tech, they automatically assume that you have to do a certain thing in order to be in tech, and it's nice that you're merging the creative part of it along with the technical part of it. To solve problems, so that's great. That's great.
Exactly.
So Kimberly, tell us, how did you learn about your internship?
Well, like I mentioned, I'm a Code 2040 fellow. So for you guys who don't know what Code 2040 is, it is basically an organization geared to closing the gap between minorities and the technology industry, whether that be in the form of internships, fellowships, career and professional development, or entrepreneurship. So basically, I applied to be a Code 2040 fellow, and the way it works is they kind of work as a bridge. So I applied, I did a technical interview, behavioral interview, and then I became a Code 2040 finalist. And a finalist, basically, you're not guaranteed an internship, but Code 2040 basically works to match you with their partner companies, and Intel happened to be a partner company. So I was matched with Intel, and once I got with Intel, I kind of we were able to, basically what it was is we had to what do you call it? They gave us, once I found out I was connected with Intel, we had to review current internship opportunities within the Intel job site, and then we applied directly to the position that way.
So was that like an application or a resume?
So basically, Code 2040, it's not, okay, so once they match with you, you have to go through the interview process again. So they already seen your resume, so you basically do a whole nother set of interviews.
Okay.
And
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We definitely have some questions about the interview process that we want to ask later. But what about you, Camille? How did you learn about your internship?
Sure. So I had a very non-traditional path to getting my internship. I received an email one day from the computer science department that someone from HP was requesting my information so that I could apply. And so basically, director of the lab heard about me, and he actually contacted my school and
first round draft pick.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So then the manager shared the information directly with me as far as what position I would be filling.
Excellent, excellent. And so, was there? Let's talk about the interview process. Was there an interview for your internship, Camille?
Yeah, there was. So I went in. I had I had 3 interviews and a tour, and I consider the tour still an interview because I was still, making a good impression. But I had two like really just get to know you interviews, and then I had a technical interview, and then the tour I walked around with another engineer just talking about and asking questions and trying to sound intelligent.
No, you're all right. You're intelligent. Come on now. What about you, Kimberly?
It's pretty much the same thing. Like once I got matched with Intel, I applied directly to the jobs I was interested in, and then we have an advocate basically working within Intel. So they would help us. They would speak on our behalf when they were talking to the hiring managers, and then the hiring managers would reach out to me. 2 hiring managers reached out to me. I applied for. I had 2 technical interviews. I had a screening. I had a phone screening for both. Both of them were screening interviews based. They were both technical and behavioral. Though current position I am in now, I did a behavioral screening interview, and then I did a technical interview as well. And there were supposed to be 3 interviews, but I only did 2 because I guess they liked me and they figured, hey, there's no reason to do another one. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
So tell us. Kimberly, what type of questions were they asked during the interview?
So, well, it was both. It was all of them were like they were a mixture of both situational, behavioral, and technical.
Okay.
Situational. Well, Intel is a hardware company, so they would ask me like, so if they give me a situation like, if this computer is running hot, like what are the steps that you would take to understand why this computer is doing what it needs to do, and then that process. And then when it comes to technical questions, as in CS, they were basic fundamental questions. And behavioral is just learning a little bit about me, why I was interested, specifically for the role I'm in now, games. I do games, and they were trying to understand like how much I knew about the gaming market, what are my favorite games, how can I improve the games. Just try to pick my brain a little bit.
Excellent. So, yeah. What about you, Camille?
So my interview process was 2 years ago, so I'm having trouble remembering all the questions.
Okay.
But I had the technical interview was basic physics. Like I already taken my physics 111 class, and so it was really since I'm mechanical engineering, I had more physics, basic science questions like what's helium, or what was the forces acting on this object, things like that. And I think they knew that I was a sophomore too, so they didn't make it too hard. They asked me like what was the first law of thermodynamics and things like that. They didn't pose too many hard questions.
That's not too hard.
Yeah.
That's hard for me. I don't know the first law of thermodynamics. I have to learn
that. Okay, yeah. But the one thing about that interview process is I stopped by one of my professors' office before I went, and he said, be prepared for questions you don't know, because more than just having the right answer, they're going to want you to walk through the question. So a lot of those, they were mechanical engineering questions, and I should have known them. Some of those questions I didn't know when I was upfront about that, and then I led them through a process of how I would figure out, or my guessing, and that I think that helped sell my interview process to make it that they hired me at the end. So, yeah.
Nice, and that's some pretty good advice as well. I mean, if you don't know, we've had people on our Tech Talk before. We've talked about the interview process, and I always tell people or students that I speak to, if you don't know, just say you don't know. But go through the rigors of how you might try to find out, the answer to the question, and that speaks a little bit more than you just making up a lot of BS on the spot. Because they can see through. They already know the answer, so they can pretty much see through that. So, excellent. And once you all got your advice, Camille, your internships, Camille, what happened? Did you have to move, or did they provide housing? How did that dynamic work?
Right. So my first internship with HP, it was in the town that I lived, so it was in Boise.
Okay.
This internship that I'm in now, Palo Alto, I did have to move, out here for the summer.
Okay. And did you have to find housing, or did they kind of help out with that, or how did that work?
No, I was pretty much on my own to find housing. They didn't provide that. I had to look myself on like Craigslist. They do have like a subscription to a site called internhousing.com that I was able
Okay.
to sign up for, and then I had to do my due diligence and look through it, and
Right.
then after that, they gave me a one-time like relocation package, which was a stipend based on what would be my yearly salary,
Nice.
based on my new job. So that was
Mhm.
based on my raise and everything. And then a really nice thing is I had come out here and make connections with the HP employees here. And
Right.
so one of the executive assistants actually volunteered to go check out my place so that she could check it out and say, it's good to get it. So that was really nice of her. So nice people.
Repeat, repeat that last part again. You went silent on us.
Oh no. Okay. All right. Let me know. One of the executive assistants at HP
Right.
went out and checked out my place for
Okay.
me so that I could, have a good idea of whether or not it was good. And she said, "Thumbs up. Good job."
That's very cool. What about you, Kimberly? Did they
It
provide housing or?
it's similar to Camille. Intel
Okay.
gives you a relocation stipend. I did have to move. Like I said, I go to school at Howard University, which is all the way across country in DC. So moving to the Bay Area was a little stressful because one, they don't find housing for you, so they give you a pretty big relocation stipend, but it's like you're in a new area, you don't know
Right.
necessarily where you are relative to where you're working. So where we did was like it was really big on me to be close to where I'm working, so the commute would be different. The commute wouldn't be as bad, and
Mhm.
like stuff like that. So it was a lot of factors that went in it. But I know we used a site called Home Suites, which is like a startup. I guess started out of Stanford, and what they do is they provide housing, but provide listings of houses in the Silicon Valley area
Okay.
that are furnished and are willing to stay for more than 30 days. So we went that route, and like you said, we had the Co 2040 Fellowship Program had advocates for us here. So we basically had them come and check out the place for us, and they were with us pretty much throughout the whole process to help us get us situated.
Very nice. Very nice. And I see we have Danielle back. You get your, you get those internets fixed, those tubes unclogged.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the irony of me being on a bit podcast and having to reboot my computer to get
Uh,
my internet to work. Yeah, it's not lost on me.
it, it still sounded like a Cylon a little bit.
So I'm not going to do anything else. So if you let me know if you can hear me or not, and
All right,
I'll
I
just.
can hear you. I can hear you now.
All right. So, so I'm sorry I missed the beginning, but I did have a couple of questions, and I don't know if y'all already said. I'm sorry, just kind of hit it quickly. So how
That's
long
fine.
are your internships?
Mine is 12 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I tend to be a year-round intern because there's a site up Boise. So last year I was a year-round intern, and it looks like I'll be a year-round intern this time too.
Hmm.
Okay. Cool. So part-time year-round or full-time?
Yeah, I usually am part-time. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Nice.
Excellent, excellent. So Camille, your internship at HP involves machine learning. Can you explain
hmm
to our audience what machine learning is in the context of your work at HP? And how did you get
Sure.
involved in it? And tell us some things that you're learning during your internship about machine learning.
Yeah, awesome. So machine learning is often considered like a subgroup of artificial intelligence, but I'm not. I work with that, and so I'm working with algorithms and frameworks that gives robots some of the autonomy to do tasks that I ask it to do. So, for example, I'm working with ROS, which is called Robot Operating System. It was actually um, basically started and then it moved. And what Robot Operating System does is it creates a framework, and it's not a framework that I can use to use existing robot control, you can say that,
Mhm.
to build on top of it with packages. And these packages contain the algorithms that I use to do my job. It could be things like navigating around an office room autonomously, so being able to track where there's obstacles and going around that, being able to map it, or do other things like natural language processing, things like that. And ROS can help me do all those things without reinventing the wheel on some of the other more standard robot controls. Then the whole way I got involved with machine learning was really because HB. My previous with HP was really a lot focused on robot design. So really playing to my mechanical engineering skills, being able to design a robot. I designed a robot hand last year. So this year, yeah, it was really fun. So this year this year they gave me a project where there would be an element of robot design, but there would be also a lot of element about machine learning, a really big emphasis on machine learning. And since I have had past programming experience, C++, Python, those are really pretty much, and XML actually, which is kind of surprising. That's a ROS thing though. Those are really only programming languages I really have been working with this summer, and so those played into my strengths well too. So I didn't have to get too far into stuff I didn't know, but at the same time it allowed me to kind of push myself and challenge myself with something that I hadn't learned yet, as far as ROS goes. And then what I'm learning about machine learning is not just the algorithms that I use with ROS, but I also attended a data science summit in San Francisco, and HP sponsored me to go. And it was really cool to go and see a bunch of experts from universities, companies, Cal actually, and then also University of Washington, which I didn't know had a big artificial intelligence program. They do, and so that was really interesting. And at the same time, I kind of was able to catch up as far as what's going on in the industry and learning what's coming out, what's new, and learning about a bunch of things like that. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's all I can say to that.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask, how does mechanical engineering and machine learning map? But I'm like, now I see.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. So, and Kimberly, what types of things are you working on at Intel? Tell us what new things you learn, and and how your experiences Intel influence your attitude towards your computer science major.
Okay, so I'm in the games development experience team at Intel. I spend 80% of my time as a games engineer and the rest of my time as a games research market intern. So 80% of my time I spend, it's like a games engineer is like a specialized software engineer. We work with a team of developers to developers on the entire process of creating a video game. So Intel maintains relationships with game developer companies, and me particularly, I work on optimizing games on Intel architecture. I'm working on a game called Blade and Soul. And basically, using profile tools, I try to see exactly where the most time being spent in terms of cycle and latency, like CPU latency, is spending, and where I can go. And then I go in the code and find which ways I can optimize it and speed it up. And then I generate a report, and then that report is then handed to the game developers, and then that's where that's where the other 20% of my time is spent working on the marketing team, where I can see where the report that is generated, how that influences the game developers. This is like, hey, this is how we can improve your game. This is how Intel architecture and specifically can improve your game and the strategies in which they go about using it. So I think beneficial for me, I kind of get a full circle view, not just computer science, but the business side, which is very important because I'm an aspiring entrepreneur, and I think it's best to see the big picture of things. In regards to my computer science degree, it has taught me a lot that you don't need to know everything, actually. You just really need to know the fundamentals.
What? I've been doing it all wrong.
No, I'm serious. Like, I'm really serious when it comes to things like, like I said, I'm a computer science major. I'm not a computer engineer or electrical engineer. But one thing I did have is I took a computer architecture class, which gave me the fundamentals that I needed to actually do this role. And they understood that, and I feel like when you have that basic fundamentals and stuff, when you have that foundation, a strong foundation, you can pretty much go and learn where you need to. You can read up on things. You don't really need to, you can master it on your own. Like, and that's one thing. It's important for me to build my foundation and also problem solving and be patient, because when I'm looking at those CPUs and those GPUs like that, it is so frustrating when you go and debug and like reading all this code, but you just have to be patient with yourself and always try to motivate yourself as well, I guess. So.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice, because I think I've spoke to some students, and one of the things that I try to tell them is definitely learn the basics, right?
Mhm.
Set your foundation and solidify that, because from there you can build and build and build, and
Mhm.
you're not going to learn everything all at once. This is a process. Being a professional in technology, it's definitely a process. So you're learning new things are coming out all the time, so you have to
Mhm.
learn it as well. So you're not going to learn everything at once.
Mhm.
Learn the basics, because everything builds upon that foundation of the
Mhm.
basics, and from there you can just step up from there. So no, that's some definitely some good advice.
Mhm.
So,
Definitely.
yeah. So, Kimberly, so how do you get involved with the marketing piece of it? So,
So, like I said, we at the very beginning of my internship, you apply. There was a job posting that was the marketing research intern. So I reached out to them. I said, "Hey, I'm interested. This sounds really cool, but I'm also technical." And they were like, "Okay, well, we can incorporate both." So it's two teams. I split my time on two teams, with the marketing team and then their sister team, which is the platform application engineer team. It's all about having those hard conversations and not being afraid. Like for me specifically, I was like, oh, they're probably not going to hire me because I want to do more technical, but you never know. You can learn a lot. And I feel like for me particularly, it was really important for me to get that technical aspect, developing my technical skills. So I had to have those hard conversations with them and be like, hey, this is what I want. I want to work for you, but I want to work for them too. Can we work something out?
okay.
So
I
it's
like
that
that.
way.
Yeah. So, what are you learning about the research piece?
So basically, the research piece is really helpful because it's kind of a look. It's a look at where the game industry is now and where do you see it in the future, where it's going. Like the hot topics, everyone's talking about VR and AR. Well, how is that influencing the market now? Where do you see it going? And then how can into architecture involve it, and make that influence it, I guess,
Right.
mainly in that piece. And like, um, like first, a lot of people don't even know Intel does what do you call it? What do you call? They have a real sense camera. They're all about like I'm
Yeah, the
sorry,
3D.
the 3D stuff.
Yeah.
People don't know about that. So they're trying to figure out strategies in which we can kind of brand ourselves in a way that people can
Mm.
understand we do more than just chips. We're moving in a new
Mhm.
direction. Or they're in process of, I guess, kind of rebranding themselves, but not rebranding them. Just um, kind of get people to see
Repositioning.
them in. Yeah,
Repositioning. Yeah.
exactly. So
Hey,
that's where I spend a lot of my time. Huh?
oh, I was
Okay.
gonna say I used the Intel RealSense camera on my
Ex-
project last year, so hey.
I did some market research with the Intel RealSense camera a few years
oh,
ago.
really? We have to
Yeah,
talk online about that,
we can
definitely.
talk offline about that.
Yes, yes, definitely.
All right, so you both are working at companies that have done a lot to advance modern computing. I mean,
Hmm.
Intel inside and HP just has built a lot of things. So, have you kind of been able to collaborate with more senior engineers that have kind of raised the bar in computing?
Um, Not I have not. We because it's a big company. Like those people are really busy, and it's kind of hard. They're always doing something. I know my manager in particular, Randy Ross. He's like a vet in the game, like a big
Yeah.
gaming industry. He's huge, but he's always busy all the time. Like I've talked to him maybe like a couple times. Had one-on-ones with him. Like, it's not that they don't want to. They want to. It's just like it's hard for them to make the time, and
Right.
I respect the fact that they want to. They're there. They'll be like, okay, schedule some time on my calendar, type of thing. And I'm like, it's all about are you going to take the initiative to do that? And if you do, then they'll make the time. They will.
Cool.
On my side at HP, my manager is actually the distinguished technologist at HP, and so one of the distinguished technologists, and so it's really cool to get to work with him. He's done some things where he's written some patents, and then just like a few weeks ago, actually, someone was sitting next to me and said, "Oh yeah, my parts are like in the most of printers. If you like go pick up a printer, the part that I designed was in there." And so that's something that I've kind of gotten used to. People probably have these patents or things that they've been working on that I would never know, but when I go pick out a printer, I'm probably using their parts somewhere.
Cool. So what do y'all do for technical mentorship? So is that encouraged?
It is encouraged.
Technical mentorship?
Yeah, technical mentorship.
Do you want to go first, Camille?
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. It is encouraged. Like I said, it's a huge company. It's not necessarily enforced. So a lot of, at least I'm talking from my experience. You really have to go out and seek technical mentorship. Like I know my team is based in Oregon. I'm in Santa Clara, so it's really, really hard to get that mentorship. So what do? I go and reach out to the NIA, which is a network of African American Intel employees, and I go and I'm like, hey, can you do a code review for me? Like, look at this and look and see if this code is I just built those own mentorships. If they're not going to provide it for me, I go out and get it myself, whether that be in Intel or with the Code 2040 family as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty much the same way at HP, where you seek out those new relationships, and that's encouraged, and that's not looked down at all. They have a really good open door policy where you can feel free to talk to anybody across any ranks. So, like for example, my mentor is a distinguished technologist. When I was back in Boise, I was seeing experts and other people all the time, and I was free to discuss my projects with other engineers around me and get their opinions, especially like the people who are more involved with SolidWorks. That's not necessarily team by team. So like for that specific skill set, I could go to somebody else on another team and talk to them about it, and that was fine.
Excellent, and thanks for those that advice. I think those are really good points. That if you're not giving someone as far as a mentor, if someone is not taking their time out then you need to do that. You need to reach out and seek those mentors for your career progression. So I'm glad that you all touched on that. So both Intel and HP, they're both huge corporations, of course. So what advice would you give to interns about entering and being a part of that type of culture and environment? Because I know it's being in a bigger corporation, it's always a different culture shift than it is being in a smaller business. So tell us a little bit about like what the environment is like, what type of things have you learned about the environment and the culture, and give some of that advice to people that might be listening.
I would say you really just have to take the initiative. You have to take initiative on a lot of things. Like people are not gonna. I know when I first got there, my manager said, it's basically like college. You can do what you want, but you got to make sure your work gets done. So no one's going to sit there and be like, hey, did you do this? Well, they're going to ask you, did you do this? But they're not going to be down your back. I guess when I talk about this, it makes me think of laissez-faire, like hands-off kind of type of thing, because they're not going to be in a sense your mother. At least that's not my experience. They were like, here, this is the task. I don't care how you go about it. Just make sure you get it done. And it's up to you to make your decisions and how you go about getting it done in a timely fashion. It is a relatively big company, and I know with my experience, there's a lot of roadblocks that come with trying to do something. I know when I had to do something for the marketing side of Intel, I had to talk to multiple people. Like I would get the runaround a lot of the times. And it's just like you have to stay positive, you have to stay calm, because people, if you allow them to give you the runaround, they will give you the runaround. But if you just have to know to talk to the right people and how to talk to those people too, because if you cop an attitude, they're not gonna help you. You just have to stay very calm and remember that remember that there's a reason why you're doing this, and remember the end goal.
Right.
Really.
Right. Great advice, because bigger corporations, they do things a lot differently when it comes to process and procedures and things like that. So I'm glad you touched on that and let people know that there's a process at these bigger corporations. For instance, whenever we want to make a change that might have some type of outage, or just say for instance it could cause an outage, right? We don't just go in there and make those changes on the fly. There's a whole change management process that you have to go through, and those have to get those change management they have to get approved, and then they have to get reviewed and all that, and then they come back and say, okay, yeah, we'll approve this. So being in a bigger corporation is a lot different from being in a smaller corporation where you might have a little bit more leeway and things that you can do. So I'm glad that you touched on that, especially being an intern, because some people, they might get deterred with getting roadblocked and things like that. So you definitely have to push through that and all the way until you reach your goal. So excellent, excellent. So what about you, Camille?
Oh yeah, so definitely on the engineering side, I think it's a lot different from maybe say marketing or finance, some of the other sides, because it's the same way that Camille was touching on, where it's very hands-off. One of the things I always stress to people is take advantage of the resources. So at HP, I have a lot of resources. I can order technology if I need. I can order the Intel RealSense camera. In fact, I ordered 2. So I can do that, and I have a smaller team where I can directly talk to the manager who would be approving these orders. So that in that way, I need to be responsible for my project and making sure I have the resources I need to complete my project, whether it's learning materials or technology, or with people to to learn, to get their expertise, talking with those technical people that might have more knowledge about what I need to accomplish with my project than I do, setting up those meetings. That's all my responsibility, and so definitely have to stay on top of that and be, so I can, at the end of my summer, what they're going to be happy with my project, but will I be happy with my project? So making sure I keep pushing.
Excellent. So were there any bad habits that you took into the corporation that you kind of had to unlearn? Were there any things that you anything like that that you, when you went to Intel, where you went to HP, that you said that they brought up and said, hey, you can't do that, you need to do this?
I think for me it was more so I need someone to tell me what to do as opposed to just going and doing it, like guidance. Like they'll give you a project, not saying that they won't give you guidance, but telling you exactly how to do it as opposed to just taking the initiative and you interpreting how to do it and not having someone to tell you what to do. That was me. Like I need someone's going to tell me what to do, so I'm going to go do it, instead of this is what I need to do and you just need to do it, Kim, like that type of thing. And not in realizing that setting my own schedule. Like my own schedule, what works for me is not going to work for somebody else. So if my coworker is coming in at 10 o'clock, but if I want to come in at 9 o'clock, that's fine. Like knowing that everything is going to work for you and you need to work for yourself and not what everybody else is doing. You need to worry about yourself and what you need to worry about your workspace and how you work, not try to match it with everybody else, because that's just not going to work. That's not going to work.
Right. Good. Excellent. What about you, Camille? Any bad habits?
I don't think I had particularly bad habits. I mean, if you have professional courtesy, that's what you need, like just a basic professional courtesy. I mean, try not to talk too loud if you're in a cubicle space, things like that. That was really interesting for me to learn, and I can give one example is company policies, such as when I'm out of the office for a day, I basically let my team know by putting a calendar event up, and say, hey, I'm out of this office for this and this day. And I usually talk to my manager, of course, beforehand to let them know, and they're really okay with the policy of coming and going. So that was one example of just kind of learning how the team flows and being willing to work with that so that there's good communication. People aren't like stuffing about my cubicle and be like, I need to talk to this intern, she's not here, things like that. So kind of inserting myself into the work life of HP.
Nice.
So I've had a few interns over the years, but I remember I had one who used to show up early places, and I had to tell him that don't show up 15 minutes early to a meeting. While it might be a good thing to do in life, it's not a good thing to do in corporate America. But
yeah, we definitely have an HP time.
Yeah.
Don't show up. And so is that because if you're showing up 15 minutes early, that means there's 15 minutes of stuff you're not doing? Is that kind of how that works?
Yeah, and then that's 15 minutes of stuff that the people that were in the meeting, that's like at least 5 emails they could have been sending while you're sitting there kind of staring at them. So Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Makes sense.
And kind of along those same lines, how's the meeting load at Intel and HP? Do you feel like you have enough time to get your work done, or you're in meetings all the time? Like, how's that balance?
Oh, as so at HP, yeah, I don't have meetings all the time. I know I work for people now that do have meetings all the time because I work. So where I work in the CTO office. And I work in HP Labs. So these are the people kind of responsible for technology vision. It's one of the reasons why I'm working on robotics and not printers at HP. So they are busy doing vision. And as an intern, I've been pretty meeting free, except meetings, of course. I have like biweekly meetings with my manager, and then I'll make meetings, of course, with people that I want to get to know, like different people. So not too many work meetings. I'm usually able to do a lot of focusing on my work.
Cool.
It pretty much goes the same way with me too. Like I'm on two teams, so I actually have a lot of meetings. I have a lot of meetings, like specifically on the marketing side. Like I know when it comes to my engineering side, we have stand-ups and we have a weekly meeting, one-on-ones and stuff like that. But with the marketing side, they're always having meetings, and there's some meetings I just don't attend because I don't. The way I view meetings is can I, is this meeting beneficial to me and my work, and how can I contribute to that meeting? If I can't contribute to that meeting, then there's pretty much no reason for me to be there. So, and those are a lot of meetings. Sometimes they just schedule meetings because I'm actually part of that group, and they just send out a whole invite and they want me to be in that meeting, but there's really no reason to be in that meeting. So, like in regards to that, that's how I view meetings. Like if there's a need for me to be there, then yes, I will be there. I will make time. I'll put it on my schedule. But other than that, I will not be in that meeting, and I'll let people know in ahead of time because
Okay.
they'll schedule it on my calendar and be like, and I'll even double check. I'd be like, okay, so what are you guys talking about? Okay, is this? I'm gonna tell you what I'm doing. Do you think I need to be here? Yes, no, already. We'll have that little bit of discussion a little bit ahead of time, so that way I know when I'm walking in a meeting. I make sure if I go in a meeting, I make sure I at least say one thing. I at least have to say one thing. That's just a rule for me. I have to. And if that's the case, then I'm not gonna go to that meeting. But yeah, it's one-on-one stand-ups. It's pretty standard. But I have a lot of meetings all the time.
Yeah. It's a hazard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was going to say I like that that she kind of explained the process of her being in a meeting or not. Some people
Yeah.
might think that they need to attend every single meeting because it's scheduled on their calendar. So I like the fact that she recognizes like, hey, a um, is there something that I need out of this meeting, and B, is there something that I can contribute to this meeting? And if both of those are no, then you know and if the meeting is not mandatory, of course,
Yeah,
then
exactly.
but also, you stated that you would have a conversation beforehand and let them know, like, hey, I'm not going to be a part of this meeting, and you kind of have that conversation. So that's good advice. That's good practical advice for interns and really anyone who's out there who's entering a large corporation and they're bombarded with a ton of meetings.
Yeah. So I think we talked about this, but are there anything else that you guys thought was a big adjustment coming into your internship?
Technically wise or living wise?
Well,
Or
technically wise or living or
Yeah.
social.
okay. Well, so I come from Boise, Idaho. Boise, Idaho has like 200,000 to 300,000 people in it. That's where I live. That's where my family is. So coming to the Bay Area and being able to meet a bunch of different people from different walks of life and different degrees and expertise, that was really awesome to be able to come and see a lot more diversity than I'm used to seeing. Something that when I was having conversations with people, I had different conversations every time, and I had to, kind of come into it a little bit differently than my female conversations at Boise, where it's like, oh, they have the same story, but this was really interesting because I could ask more interesting conversations or questions and things like that. So coming where there's a lot more, I don't mind
Uh-oh.
traffic, and I also love talking to a lot of different people. So
When it comes to me, I think the biggest adjustment was my schedule. Like, I'm in a fellowship, so literally 2 days out of the week we have workshops. And on top of that, like going to different events, really taking advantage of Silicon Valley. I struggled with that question when I first got here. Like, how do I want to define that? And for me, it's like building my networks, just learning as much as possible. So when it comes to my schedule, it's really hard for me to go to work and then go to this event. Like, and I live particularly in the South Bay, so trying to commute back and forth to San Francisco is a hurdle in itself, especially at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's just like, how do I pick and choose what to do, what not to do, like what is beneficial? That I feel like is the biggest adjustment, because I feel like in school you just go to the things that are just interesting to you, like, you know, you really don't care. But out here, it's really important. Every time, everything that you do is important, and no time is wasted. So it's the scheduling part, I would say, is the hardest. Biggest
Yeah.
biggest investment.
So what do you mean that everything you do is important?
So I feel like everything you do is important, as in like time. I have a limited amount of time here. Like, I have 12 weeks. So everything that I do, if I go to an event, I want it to be, it's important. It's important to me that I do something. It's important to me why I would want to go to this event. It's important. I don't just go to things just to go to them. I go to them because I actually feel like I can benefit from it, or someone else can benefit from it. It's important to me, you know. I want to take advantage of being here and making those connections, and realizing that I'm not going to do something just because everyone else is doing it. I'm going to do something because I want to do it, and it's important to me. So
It's strategic, right? Strategic.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So Camille, do you find yourself being strategic like that in your off time?
Absolutely. So I've gotten a couple of different invitations, like to go to San Francisco, and I'm living in the South Bay as well. So that's like an hour drive for me, right? Without traffic. Without traffic. So I've gone to a networking event at Dropbox. I also got to go check out a startup called that one of my alumni from Boise State is actually working there in San Francisco. But I had to time out those events. But it was really good that I went there. And then there were other events I decided not to go. Or, for example, I went to Internapalooza. I don't know if you went there, Kimberly.
I was there. Yes, I was there.
Yeah, okay. I was kind of like, well, when I was done, I was like, why did I go?
Right. Yeah.
It didn't benefit me as much, and I drove all the way up there. So definitely strategic with my time, especially now as it's coming to a close. I'm trying to fit in some of those meetings. But yeah, when you have traffic like we do here in the Bay Area, you have to be strategic with your time. Absolutely.
I gotcha. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit. Let's go back to like thinking about the technical skills that you use on your job from a day to day. So do you think that other students or other folks new to the field can develop these skills outside of an internship?
Yes, I say yes. I
Okay,
say
how?
I feel like all the information. I honestly, there's this conversation around. Do you even think it's beneficial to go to college to study computer science? That's like the talk now, because everything is available online, which is true. I feel like all the skills you can learn, like at the heart of computer science is design, it's critical thinking, it's problem solving. And I think that's what sets apart just going online and just going and learning the code, but actually going to school and learning how to think through a problem and all that. But all those, in essence, what I do on a day-to-day is just take away a problem. It's problem solving, like it's a mystery. Like I said, I optimize games. So when I see something not working, I have to figure out, okay, well, why is this not working? I have to work backwards, kind of thing, like, and go and like take apart the problem. And I feel like anyone who knows how to solve a problem can learn how to do that. It's all about, I think with the internship, I think the internship adds the exposure and then being able to apply it. Because in college you learn all these things, but if you don't know how to apply it, what's the point of learning these things? So anyone who hasn't had an internship can learn how to problem solve, learn how to code, but you need to know how to apply them, and I think that's the benefit of having an internship.
All right. What about you, Camille?
Yeah, so most of the things that I'm doing on my internship and even in my last internship, I didn't learn in a class at all. I did not. There was no classes for it. There was no classes that taught me the SolidWorks skills I was using, or ROS. I don't have a class at ROS at my school. So definitely you can learn these on your own or in an internship. Actually, sometimes you learn things in internships that you're not going to be learning at school. So my comparison is, will I be more likely to learn my skills in class, or will I be more likely to learn them outside the class in the real world? And I definitely agree with that. You learn them outside of class. You learn them sometimes on your own. I mean, even in an internship, like Kimberly and I have been explaining, we're learning things on our own. So it's still the same type of idea if you are volunteering or taking your own time after school to learn it. These are the things that you will need for your internship, and not necessarily, like Kimberly also mentioned, learning this is really important, like those fundamentals. I totally agree with that. Learn those fundamentals in class, but then go learn the practical applications, whether you're volunteering or in an internship.
Okay. All right.
So you all have been at your internships for quite a while. What's some of the best ways, some advice that you can give other interns on how to possibly stand out, and like how can they demonstrate like the necessary skills and experiences for the position? We'll start with you, Camille.
Oh, okay. So I think it kind of goes back to what I was just saying. You want to have a good knowledge of your job. If you have a good, actually, and I didn't even have a good description of my job. I just knew I was applying to the mechanical engineering internship. They had this and this idea for me, and then machine learning internship I had a little bit more idea up front because they were telling me more upfront since I was already inside the company. But I didn't necessarily for the last one have everything together as far as what I was going to be doing. So for me, it was really that interview, making sure I was knowledgeable and could step through the problem-solving process well enough for them. After that, I think one of the things I would really encourage other possible interns to do is don't assume that your recruiter completely read your resume. They probably did, but make sure that you know that they know what your most valuable skill sets are as far as your internship. Bring it up in the interview, and so that they know and that you have this conversation about your skill sets. Because maybe you didn't write it clearly down on your resume, and you need to bring it up in conversation so they know that you have this particular skill set. Like, oh, I have SolidWorks. And they're like, oh, you didn't put that on your resume. That's actually really important. I need to know that. And so make sure you talk about your skills in the interview process. Talk yourself up. So that way, if you have any of those moments where, oh, they didn't know that, you get that in there because that might be the difference between you getting the internship.
Definitely. I would agree everything she just said. The way I do my interviews, I talk in STAR. Like, are you familiar with it? Like situation, task, action, and result. Like every single time I have a situation that I went through, I talk about it, what I did, what were the results after that, and then what was my role in it, and then the results that I got. And
what does STAR stand for? Say that one more time.
Sorry, situation, task, action, and result. So I talk about like what was the situation at hand, the task that I was tasked with, and then the action that I did, like what did I do specifically, and then the results of my action and the action that I took. And I think that plays on a little bit what Camille was saying. Like you have to talk about your most valuable, what makes you the best candidate. And when you're talking in the situation, task, action, and result, you're able to highlight those things as you're talking. It should be like a conversation, but you should be able to communicate in a way where people understand. I know people have told me like you don't even need to have an interview. In reality, if you're having a conversation with your interviewer, your hiring manager, and they actually understand that, they know that you understand what you're talking about, there's no really a need for an interview. Like if you can prove to them, like for me and how you can stand out, like if you can prove your competency for what you're talking about through situation, task, and action result, then I feel like that'll make you stand out. At least that has worked for me.
Gotcha. So, and I know Camille, you've got videos out there on YouTube, and you've done a lot of other things to increase your web presence. So, how important do you think that is for interns? Do you think that helps or?
Well, definitely, as far as professionally have a LinkedIn profile, because you never know what recruiter and when the recruiter will look at your LinkedIn profile. They might look at it before to check up on you, or they might look at it after to kind of look at what you've done. So I think that I was talking actually at Internapalooza, so this is the one good thing I got of Internapalooza. I was talking to a Google recruiter, and she was like, we use LinkedIn a lot. We use it a lot, and if you contact us on LinkedIn, we're going to contact you back. And so definitely, and also I haven't gotten more specifically HP related opportunities through social media, but I have gotten other opportunities that increased my visibility elsewhere. So as far as being able to go and talk to students and things like that, which have been fun. So and you never know who you're gonna meet. So for example, at the networking event in San Francisco, I met Telly Whitney, who's the CEO of Anita Borg Institute. And then I found out that they're actually headquartered in HP. And so using, that, I was able to actually meet some more people who are willing to mentor me, actually, from Anita Borg. So, things like that, it's informal. It's not necessarily something that's just out there, but that could help you in indirect ways. You never know. So meet people and definitely use social media.
I know someone told me, like, so in order for people to help you, they got to be able to know you. So, when it comes to social presence, like, people have to know that that they need to know who you are, I guess. Like, so LinkedIn is very important, as what you said. I know when I was at Interpalooza, they did the same thing to me. They were like, do you have LinkedIn? Follow me. It's kind of like on my resume, so it is, I think it's beneficial.
What about sites like GitHub? Do you all use those as well?
Definitely. I think GitHub is really cool because you can work on so many projects. It's a platform in which you can showcase your projects. At least for me, because when I build a project, I always have a GitHub repo, because why would you want to build something if you can't show it off? And GitHub allows you to do that. Well, I mean, like, obviously you want to show it off, but like obviously you want to build. That's not my own intention for building something, but like if I build something, I kind of want to show it off to the whole world. So why not? Like that GitHub, yeah, definitely, and it's open source too, so you can learn a lot just by reading the repos and going in and looking at all the code. It's definitely GitHub, definitely.
What about you, Camille? Are you up on GitHub as well?
I am not up on GitHub yet because I haven't really. I'm more in the mechanical engineering side. So if you can't use GitHub, get a website or something. Get a simple WordPress website and take good pictures, and put that up there. And then use your social media platforms to put that out so that people are aware of what you're doing, because that will definitely get you some notice. Maybe a startup, maybe not a big corporation, but a startup would definitely, from your website, your personal website, definitely be willing to show off your stuff. And don't be too like, oh, I can't share my ideas. Someone's gonna steal my idea. Nobody wants your idea. Share it.
Yeah. Nice. So you can't use GitHub at HP? Is that what's going on?
No, I haven't written anything that would go to GitHub.
I'm
a mechanical engineer, so I'm more put it together.
GitHub is like code. It's like code. It's open source code, and that's another thing. It's a great way to learn too. Like if you don't know specific languages, you can go and look up a project and work on a project there. Just work it down and work on a project that way. It's specifically for computer, like people who work on code.
So I'm not technical, but I work at a healthcare company, and a lot of our engineers are just kind of annoyed because they cannot use GitHub.
Yeah, that was me my freshman year.
And so while I don't post anything to GitHub, I do look at it a lot. Like a lot of raw stuff is on GitHub. So I'm always like on GitHub website looking at their code. So I do absolutely.
GitHub is tricky because you have to, for me, I use it through the terminal, but there is a graphic user interface that you can use. I have it on my computer. I just actually learned about it. It's called SourceTree. So, it allows you to see visually what you're doing. So, like forking, pulling it down, pushing it. So maybe they can try that, the SourceTree.
No, it's blocked. So you get the big red hand.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, hey, Danielle, so are you guys using like an internal repository of some sort?
Yeah. And it's new, so it's not like they've always done it. So it's sort of a middle of the road thing. They have a local install of something like GitHub.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we're nearing the top of the hour. I'm going to wrap this up here. We got one last question for you two. So tell us, what are the most effective strategies? We'll start with you, Kimberly. What are the most effective strategies for finding out about jobs for at HP, or I'm sorry, Intel?
I feel like research. I'm big on research. Reaching out to your networks, maybe. For someone who doesn't necessarily have this network, just research. If you see someone that goes back to LinkedIn. If you know you want to work for a particular company like Intel, you can go to LinkedIn and you can see, like, search Intel, and a whole bunch of employees on Intel will work out, and then reach out to them. Because I'm the type of person, I really do feel like everyone is willing to help you. It's just whether or not you take the step in reaching out to them to actually get them to help you. So really take advantage of the internet. Everything is out there nowadays. So build that network. Go and research Intel products. Know what you're talking about, because Intel is a hardware company. So if you don't know a little about what they're doing, go and search and see how it's relatable to you and what you can benefit from using their hardware.
Right.
And then I think, just to answer your question, really just take advantage of the internet and reaching out to those people that are in a position that you think you might be interested in. I know I do that all the time. Like, if I see someone that is like a data scientist, I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Let's talk. Like, let's reach out. I stalk people online sometimes, like, that's what I don't know. That's what I do. It works for me. So we'll see.
Great. What about you, Camille?
Definitely use the HP career website, but then the same thing. Social media is really cool, and actually we do actually post listings on social media. So if you want to pay attention to some of the social media channels, you might see postings for something that pertains to you. The other thing is I actually kind of work with some of the recruiters, and they do use LinkedIn. So definitely be finding the recruiters on LinkedIn and sending out messages, because they are, they're pretty likely to respond. And then the other thing is try to find someone that's already in the company, because that really does help to have somebody already inside that's willing to pass your resume along. That having the second person besides just a recruiter pulling for a position really does help.
Excellent. Great advice.
And join organizations like Code 2040 too.
Yeah.
It's good too. I don't know why I didn't say that at the very beginning, but yeah, join Code 2040 too.
That's right. You got it in anyhow.
Yeah, and reach out. I'm here if anybody is interested. I'm always here to help somebody else. Just reach out to me. I'll work my way and see if I can get you in touch with a recruiter or something like that.
Absolutely. And then speaking here, I can pass along your resumes. So yeah.
Excellent. And speaking of which, how can someone get in contact with you, or how can they follow you on social media?
You can shoot me an email. It's my last name and my first name at gmail.com, or reach out to me on Twitter, KimSmilesXD. I'm always smiling. Or LinkedIn. Just type in my name on LinkedIn. The best way to contact me, though, is probably through my email.
Excellent. What about you, Camille?
Yeah. So my all my social media channels are at NikkYMill, so NikkYMill. I'm very active there, and then you can also email me at camille.eddy7@gmail.com, and then I'm also on LinkedIn. So those are really good ways to get in contact with me.
Excellent. Well, ladies, I definitely want to thank you for joining us tonight and giving everyone, again, our audience, some great advice. I think, let's see. Yeah, so we've got another Tech Life episode coming up pretty soon, where we're going to be interviewing James Jones from Puppet Labs. He's a solutions engineer there, so definitely stay tuned for that. Once again, ladies, thanks a lot. I definitely appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you. Oh, we will. I will. We will.
Thanks everyone else for tuning in.
Danielle, we'll talk offline. We'll definitely talk offline.
Yeah, hit me on Slack. We're good.
Okay.
Yeah, join our Slack channel. Join the Blacks in Technology Slack channel, where these young ladies are also in there as well. And definitely thanks everyone for tuning in. I want to definitely thank Wiser for allowing us to crash their digs, and digs is their spot there. So definitely thank you for that. And that's it for this episode, and tune in for the next episode. Thanks a lot, everybody. Good night.
You're welcome. Good night.
Bye.